What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm super excited about today's video because as soon as I saw flying at 500 miles per hour, just 250 feet off the ground,
I missed that part.
I was like,
oh my gosh,
I've got to check this out.
Oh my.
So we're going to be checking out the Royal Air Force Valley pilots train like Top Gun. Do you think it'd be fun to fly in one of those?
I would ride in one, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely would do that if I got the opportunity to.
I would probably throw up, but...
500 miles per hour in the cockpit?
So when the pilots come here, they will have done their elementary flying, which is...
That always amazes me how they turn like that.
Aircraft. They're coming here to learn how to fly and fight the Hawk eventually. And that prepares them to go to the front line where they will be part of and support global operations that the UK deems necessary.
Wow.
As
Can you
Station
imagine?
Commander, I'm responsible for providing a safe operating environment within the airfield. So we provide the facilities for our pilots to live and train in. So I've got air traffic controllers, I've got ops staff, I've got emergency fire and rescue as well. That come under my area of responsibility.
What are they putting out?
Provide them with
Some
their
kind of fire.
No, I know that, but I'm saying what?
So all their real life
Oh,
support.
is that training?
And everything being necessary to get them through their training and get them to the front line as fighter pilots. I think the Mach Loop is a convenient bonus on the doorstep. The reality is we've got some really open airspace within which our pilots can learn to fly the aircraft and then learn to fight the aircraft. Other areas of the UK are quite congested. However, we have Snowdonia on the doorstep for low flying, of which the Mach Loop is part of.
Look at that!
Really great airspace out.
Is that where they are?
Look how close!
Snowdonia?
Look at that!
Yes.
Look how close to the ground they are right there.
Their training serials.
Oh my goodness.
They are
That would
literally.
be nerve-wracking.
Yeah, you have to be pretty skilled to fly that close to the ground. You know what I mean?
Techs in here at Valley to complete basic fast jet training. That's where we learn some of the more advanced skills and actually learning to be a pilot properly. We
Those
learn
are
to fly
cool
the
looking
aircraft
planes.
first of all, learn to do some of the more advanced maneuvers, aerobatics, some basic combat maneuvers, learn to fly navigation at low level through Wales, through the valleys, through the Mach Loop. And
Through
then we learn
Wales,
some
that makes
instrument flying,
sense.
learning to fly in clouds and go to civilian airfields. And then we start developing.
Dude, look how close they are! Oh my goodness!
Pairs of either sets of 2 or 3 aircraft. So the Texan
Wow.
training is about 80 or 90 hours or so, and it's really a lot of fun. It's a fantastic aircraft.
That
to
does
fly.
look fun.
It's a challenge.
A little scary to
but
begin
it
with
is,
too, I bet.
It's really rewarding as well. By the end of the course, you're leading a pair.
Oh my goodness.
So yourself and your wingman.
Oh, that
to
makes
go
me so
out,
nervous.
Perhaps do some elementary fighting maneuvers, or you'll split and do your own sort of aerobatic things like that. Come back together and then go into low level into a simulated threat environment to go and hit a target on time. All doing that safely, managing threats, managing your wingman, dealing with emergencies, and then coming back home all safely. We also fly in the simulator here, which provides a really good environment for us to train different kinds of things, dealing with emergencies or training in scenarios that we can't simulate in real life. So that's again some very useful and valuable training here. So the next stage on Flying Hawk is essentially taking it up another step. Initially, it'll be learning to fly the aircraft, fly the jet. So it's much faster, it's much more complicated, there's a lot more to think about. Once we've done that, then we start developing some of the more tactical side of things and learning how to fight and fly at the same time, and using the aircraft as a weapon system to go and deliver a good effect on target and achieve a mission.
Those things are sharp looking.
Yeah, they really are. I really like the look of these planes, but I'm curious how they actually train or simulate in the air if they were in battle. You know what I mean? Like they've got to shoot a plane down or
You think
whatnot.
it'd be like a video game simulation kind of?
I'm guessing they do
more
now,
realistic?
but maybe that's the case now. But how did they do it years ago before they had the technology to really simulate that?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Like I don't know if anyone knows.
Rounds, maybe?
What?
Blank rounds?
That's
like
what I
in
was
the air
wondering.
for
Like
real?
who knows? I have no idea. If you know, let us know in the comments, guys.
Flying at low level through valleys is obviously a lot of work. There's a lot to think about. You have to be focusing on it all the time. but it is really rewarding as well. So in the Texan, we'll cruise at low level at
Holy
240 knots, which is about 280 miles an hour or so. And in terms of G, we can pull up to 7G, but we'll generally sustain up to 5G, so 5 times the force of gravity.
Wow.
You imagine, like, just coming out of your house. Actually, you probably hear it before
Did you hear
saw
that?
it. 5Gs up to, like, 7Gs, yeah.
5 times the force of gravity.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Can you imagine, though, like, living on one of these farms and hearing them
Oh, I know. Coming right over your roof.
go out and see them. They're like,
I mean, like,
that'd be really cool.
I think they really are like 250 feet above the ground. I mean, honestly, it doesn't even look that high, but I'm guessing it's probably playing tricks with our vision
Right
here. But
here, it looks like they're barely clearing the trees.
It
but I'm sure
does.
they're a little.
Yeah, I'm sure they're higher than it
Little
looks,
cushion.
but it looks very low to the ground to
Yeah.
be flying at the speeds they're obviously
It would
flying.
be really cool to see them do this. Though.
Yes, this would be really cool. I'd like to be under them as they did this.
I'd really like to fly a Lightning if I got the choice.
Lightning.
It's the most advanced aircraft in the world, and to be able to fly that.
Look at the shadow right there on the ground.
would be,
Yeah, that's crazy. That takes skill.
That's crazy.
Makes me so nervous.
So the big thing with the Mach Loop area of Wales is the topography. It's very
I've heard of the
different
Mach
from
Loop.
a lot of the rest of Wales and most of the UK, to be fair. There's some similar bits up in the Lake District in northern Scotland, but the majority of the loop is not too challenging, but there are some perspective about the Mach Loop.
Oh
is
my
that
goodness.
safe line through
Dude,
the
look
valleys.
at that.
Picking your entry point such that you maintain not only good height underneath the aircraft, but on top of it as well.
Oh my
'Cause
goodness.
You need to make sure you've got the safe distance in all directions around the aircraft. It's different from
I love it.
most of the rest of Wales, which
That'll
although
be
is
so
undulating,
fun.
is quite
That
wide
would be fun.
valleys, and it's it's a very specific skill set required, and there really aren't that many places.
I want to say this landscape is beautiful too, by the way, and I love how he's flying in this valley here.
Did you hear where he was saying that there are some really challenging parts of this loop where they have to be mindful of the upper clearance and lower clearance, so they're cutting through, like, I don't know what it would be, but
That's cool, and I can't help but appreciate how this cockpit looks.
what are the jagged?
That's what I was wondering. Like, I was curious
what's
about
the
what
purpose
this
of
is for. If anyone knows, let us know in the comments.
To practice it within the
Aiming for
So
something.
many aircraft of all types,
Dude.
both civilian, foreign, and our own fast jets.
Look how close
Gets
he's coming to
funneled
this.
into it. So for the Texan, you could get away with sort of turning when it felt right. The corner's opening up, go now, and you'll be pulling 3.5 Gs.
That's cool.
That puts into perspective how fast they're going.
Down through the corner. For the Hawk, it carries the speed so much more. It's doing 7 miles a minute at low level.
7 miles a
they're
minute?
setting the bank
miles a
way
minute?
before the corner and then pulling into
Wow.
it before they get there. Much like with the F1, they set for the apex before the corner opens up and carry it through. And with the Hawk, the Typhoons, the faster jets, they'll be pulling 4 or 5 G around the corner. So considerably more
Dude.
anticipation required in order to safely navigate valleys at that time.
Holy. When you hear them, you can really tell how
Yeah.
fast
Oh,
they're
look how
going.
low
In the
he's
Texan,
going.
I've now managed to reload into the system as a student again, and I'm at the early stages of the Hawk T2 course on advanced jet training. I think the big thing with the military flying side of things versus civilian flying is that generally, and it's a bit of a generalisation, but civilian flying is for the purpose of getting from A to B. Whereas for the military, when you get to B, you then have to operate and fight your aircraft. And by fight, it could be air combat, be it like Top Gun trying to shoot something down, or it could be delivering other effects like surveillance or delivering aid. So the getting to B is only a small part of the job.
Very true.
They just made that point as well in the video we watched about the speed march record.
Yeah.
Remember they were talking about how, a marathon is cool in and of itself,
Yeah.
like to accomplish that, but militarily speaking, you have to be able to do that and then be ready for battle. And it's like, wow. When you think about that.
The speed march is hard enough, but you've got to be ready to go when you actually get done with the speed march and
once
get to
you're
your location.
exhausted and I
it's-
hope you're not.
It's not exactly the same things
Right,
here, but
but-
I see why
But
why I
he
brought
was
it up.
saying the same thing they were.
Yeah. there's like two different types of preparation.
Yeah.
There's the learning to fly with such precision and skill, and then there's all the other aspects of fighting.
You still have
once
to
you're
be
up there.
mentally sharp once you get there.
Right, yeah.
So the progression from Texan to Hawk is something that is a really big jump. Because you're going from an aircraft that gives you immediate power response to a jet where there's always a little bit more thinking to do, and also the G and the type of maneuvers that we can fly on the Hawk aircraft are more advanced.
It really is
So
a really
that's the
nice
Hawk?
aircraft.
We take that foundation
I think
from
so.
what we've done on the Texan, we teach them to fly the Hawk lead-in training aircraft, and then we're starting to expose in a really visceral way how they dogfight the aircraft, how they operate the aircraft at low level with simulated threats, and how we start to introduce air-to-surface weaponry as well as more advanced formation considerations.
Going up for the first time would be
We
so
work as hard as we
surreal.
possibly
Yes.
can to get them through as quickly as possible.
Can you imagine being
The
sucked into
courses
your
in
seat?
isolation are about just shy of a year on Texan and about just shy of a year on Hawk. What we're looking to constantly do is evolve our technology as quickly, if not more quickly, than the threat. That involves greater use of synthetics, that involves live virtual construct, and that is using entities, for want of a better way of describing it, that can help the pilot and train, and that's more efficient. But we must never lose sight of the fact that live flying is such an important part of what we do, because you can't simulate the G-force and you can't simulate that jeopardy
That's
of what
true.
we do.
Yeah.
Is fundamentally really, really hard, and sometimes can be very risky. So we need to be able to mitigate that risk by constant training to give our people the confidence that what they're doing is the right thing and that they can successfully execute the mission, but also to give our leaders the confidence that our people can do their job properly, which they absolutely can. I think the future of the fighter pilot is safe for the foreseeable future, because although we can see uncrewed air systems at the moment, they don't necessarily at the moment have the speed and reach that crewed platforms do. And specifically the advantages that combat air or fast jets offer is they can carry a very large payload, they can carry it very quickly, and they can carry it really dynamically. And what I mean by that is the ability to react to what it is that our government and or our senior military leaders need. I can absolutely see an evolution in due course of crewed systems working collaboratively with uncrewed systems within the same package, and what I mean by that is within the same mission. And clearly there's lots of great evidence out there that suggests in the years to come people may choose to use uncrewed systems more, but it will always be a blend.
So is he talking like
And at the
drone
moment,
type
assure you
flight?
that the future of fighter pilot is very safe.
Yeah, uncrewed would obviously not have a crew. But, you know, I believe that's true. I believe eventually, I mean, the way technology is going, it's all going to be unmanned at some point. It may be decades in the future, but at some point there's going to come a time where AI and, you know, the drone technology gets so advanced that it's just, you know, all this stuff is going to be replaced. Even, you know, factory workers and everything you can think of eventually, both blue collar and white collar. And pretty much so, you know, eventually there can be robots on the battlefield instead of humans. It's just the way we're going. Is that a good thing? I mean, it
In
potentially
some
saves
ways,
lives, but we lose the human touch,
Right.
so to speak, as we advance with these technologies.
So what we have at the moment in terms of future 6th gen training is we currently have 4+ generation with Eurofighter Typhoon, and we have 5th generation with F-35 Lightning aircraft. And we
Look
are
how close they get.
constantly our syllabus
It's insane.
and our
Can't get over
training
that.
to make sure that we're giving the front line what it is they need in terms of the training for those fighter pilots going to the front line. When it comes to 6th gen, we clearly need to be cognizant of that arriving in the next decade, and technology is going to play a huge part of that in terms of, as I described before, making sure our simulators are able to exploit every ounce of training, making sure that as we move more towards live as synthetic construct or live virtual construct, that our pilots are able to hone and practice skills that would otherwise be very challenging to replicate. But above all, what we need to never lose sight of is the fact that this is all about human beings from first principles. So regardless whether or not it's 4th, 5th or 6th generation, making sure that we optimize the performance of the human who has to make those very difficult decisions under very, very challenging physiological and psychological conditions is key. And that's why we're really
look
going
at
to
that.
start, we continue to
beautiful
focus
landscape.
only on physical preparation and mission preparation, but also how we optimize human performance, which is a key stage of being able to exploit capability in the 6th gen time. So, having flown the Eurofighter Typhoon myself, I have a pretty good idea of what it takes to be successful in that environment, and I work very, very closely with the F-35 force to make sure that we constantly assess what it is, because while
that's
the two
incredible.
platforms are complementary and while they consistently
big
support
one.
each other on
Yeah,
operations,
that's what I was
there
thinking.
are subtle nuances to both roles. In
Look
terms
how
of the question,
agile
how
it
we
looks.
select, it's very much based upon what does the service need. So, for example, all Royal Navy pilots, as it stands at the moment, will go to F-35 because that's where the Royal Navy puts its personnel. RAF pilots will be prioritised to where their skill set best serves. And again, the mission sets are complementary but subtly differently. But timing has a lot to do with it as well. So, for example, if we need pilots onto Typhoon because that's where the slots are, we will look to prioritise that. Or indeed, very much linked to the operational cycle of F-35 or indeed Typhoon, where are there spaces at any one time, noting that the most important thing is that a pilot trained within number 4 flying training school here at Valley, if they make the grade, and we obviously do everything we possibly can to get as many people through as possible, they are good enough to go to either Eurofighter Typhoon or to F-35.
This was incredible. I love it. I would love to be up in one of these planes.
Would you, like, looking back now, do you think you would have enjoyed being a pilot?
I think so. Now, I am someone I have a fear of heights. But I've been someone throughout my life, I've tried to face that fear, and it's weird. I'm one of these people that I have a fear of heights, but I'm interested in heights. I love heights. And when we flew on planes, I flew quite a bit at this point, and I always loved being up in planes. I found that fun. I've never been in a plane like this, and I think that's one of the reasons they fascinate me so much. I can't imagine. I try to put myself in the position of being in the cockpit there, and you've got the glass over you, and you can see like everywhere. And how amazing that would feel.
That would be the worst part for me is like the tight enclosure, like the small space of it.
You're not that claustrophobic, are you?
No, but when you're that high up, thought of crashing in such a small space. But yeah, it's really cool. I would definitely try it at least once, like as a passenger. Obviously, I'm not going to go fly one.
Yeah, you're not just going to go up and fly it.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to. I would love to both be a passenger and to take one out myself. Obviously, that would take a ton of training.
Yeah.
But
much respect to the pilot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and like you said, not only would it, it's two different ball games you're playing here. One is just to learn to fly at skill and precision. The other is to then go from there to learning all about how to fight when you're in the air.
Yeah, and I think. Wasn't he saying the Texan is the one they start out on?
I believe so.
The jet they start out on, and then they move to the Hawk. And it's so different because you have to anticipate more. Because I don't know if you're going so much faster.
I'm not
if
sure.
That's the reason. I missed the reason. But yeah, I can't imagine like having to think that far ahead and knowing what's coming up, and it would be very high stress, I think.
I've seen the Typhoon mentioned in the comments section in the past. I've also seen the Mach Loop mentioned.
They pronounce it Mach Loop.
Mach Loop.
Is it M-A-C-H?
M-A-C-H, yeah.
Here we would pronounce it Mach.
Yeah. So I think I want to check something out with one or both of those. Let us know in the comments, guys, if we should check out. Maybe the Typhoon doing the Mach Loop would probably be what we should check out at some point. But I want to look more into this type of thing. I really just enjoy it. It's something I've really never explored that much. I don't really know much about planes.
Me either.
Just like I don't know much about ships, Just didn't grow up.
Or trains.
Yeah, we just didn't grow up with any of that type of stuff, really. So it's not something I've really explored, but I find all three of those fascinating, in their own ways.
Yeah.
And I must say, if there was anywhere I would want to fly low, you couldn't ask for a more beautiful landscape than these valleys we were seeing and just the greenery below. I mean, being that low and seeing this landscape must be really.
Probably don't see a ton of it because you're going so fast.
Well, you're seeing it from afar, like as you're approaching it. You know what I mean? You're not seeing it directly below you, but you're definitely seeing it as you're approaching. And I can't imagine what it would look like as they get on their side and turn, flip around or whatnot.
Maybe one day you will.
Maybe. I don't know. If I ever get the chance, I would definitely take up the offer on that. But guys, this was very interesting. Like we said, please let us know in the comments what we should check out next in terms of this type of stuff. We really enjoy this type of stuff, learning about this. So please feel free to leave your suggestions. Also, let us know if you've ever been in one of these planes.
Flying or as a passenger.
Yeah, flying 500 miles per hour, 250 feet off the ground. That just sounds incredible and very intense. But anyways, guys, I think that's it for us today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow us on our journey. Until next time, guys. Peace.
Bye.